What's up, everyone? It is your girl, GELBEAUTY 87 here, aka Grace, and today we got another old school versus new school. So, we have the Charlotte Tilbury Smoky Eyes Are Forever palette up against the Tarte Man Eater After Dark palette. So, I felt like both these palettes looked really similar in tone, and they're actually both, I guess, holiday releases, if you could say. I know the Charlotte Tilbury one for sure is a holiday release. I'm feeling like this is Tarte's holiday release as far as their big palette goes as well. I don't know, don't quote me, but here's what both of them look like side by side. As you can see, the color stories are quite similar, so that's why I thought it'd be fun to do this. Plus, I didn't get to use my Tarte palette on camera because I bought mine when they had a sale. I didn't buy it when it first came out like everyone else did, just because, I mean, it's Tarte and you know the history with people that look like me. So, I mean, I just was like, say less. I don't need to really encourage this. Encourage you to buy this. But after actually having tried it, this will be my second time on using the palette, but it was my first time using it on camera. I figured we could try it alongside this one because for once Tarte actually came in with inclusive shades for everyone. I feel like there are several skin tone shades I can use in here as transitions, or as well as crease shades, and then it has a lot of the same similar tones that the Charlotte Tilbury one has in it. So I feel like it'd be interesting to talk about them. So as usual, we're gonna start off with the old school one, which would be the Charlotte Tilbury. This is the holiday release from 2021, which is last year. So when it comes to this palette, if you like lightly pigmented shadows and a somewhat sparkle on the lid, then I feel like you would go for this palette, and I like it pretty nicely. I liked it okay. I wasn't obsessed with it just because I feel like it's lightly pigmented, and then she always does the thing where she gives you the little three-tone looks you can do. But the problem is with the three-tone looks, I feel like there's not enough versatility for all skin tones. I feel like at best this is like medium and maybe like fair to like medium, maybe tan, maybe people like carrying the way with it. But otherwise, I feel like if you're my skin tone, you hardly have anything to choose from. But since I'm a luxury makeup channel, a lot of times I'll go ahead and buy the palettes like this just to try out for you all, because at the end of the day, it is about the quality, and it's only like 1 or 2 shades in here I can't use majority of the time. I just don't like the way she sets up these palettes as far as like trying to force you to use certain things. So when I saw the Tarte one and how much versatility it had, I was interested, but at the same time, remember Tarte's formula wasn't all that. But my girl Karen Harris and a few other YouTubers were saying how the quality of the palette was actually really nice. So I was like, well, if I can catch it on a deal, I buy it, because it's like some brands, if you all remember, I did videos on brands I only check for when they're on sale, and Tarte would definitely be one of those, especially with their track record like I just talked about. But Karen actually convinced me to buy this palette because she's talking about it's a basic bitch palette basically as far as the color stories go, but she's talking about how the formula was really nice compared to their older palette. And I remember their older palettes just being okay, not anything exceptional, so I wanted to see how the upgrade was, because the last palette I had tried from them was the Make Believe in Yourself palette, the one where they had like all the fun sparkly colorful shades in it, and I thought that palette was okay for what it was considering it was Tarte, but I wanted to see if their formula had improved. So you'll see in the demo how I feel about the formula of this, but my main happiness was they had enough deeper shades in here for people my skin tone, because I remember for the longest time they used to have like a whole bunch of shades like this over on this end, and there wouldn't be a lot of what's going on here toward the other end, because like deeper richer tones, like I feel like I have a transition shade here and a transition shade here and another one here and another one here. So I actually feel like there's a good variety of deeper tones for people my skin tone, which is what my issue always was with Tarte as far as just products in general. So since they finally made a change and were made a consistent change, I was willing to go pick up this palette and try it out. So what I'm gonna do is, let me zoom on real quick and cute like, I'm going to go off camera and use the Charlotte Tilbury palette, and then we're gonna go on camera and use this because this will be my first time using it on camera. So but if you're curious what's on my eyes right now, this is actually another battle of the, this is a I'm sorry, not battle of the old school versus new school. This is a bonus video for you all though, because the palette I used on this side, the Melt one, if you all remember, I customized my Melt Millennial Pinks palette and added some greens from the Gemini palette and the what was it, the 420 palette to get what's going on in the eyes right now. And I think I took a shade from the Blueprint palette as well, because that's where the bronziest type tone came from. So I just using this as a bonus video to compare it to another pink and green palette. I feel like you should know which pink and green palette I'm talking about, but you'll see the video as a bonus if I run out of old school versus new school content, or I just don't get time to film some and you all really like the series. So I like to be prepared for stuff like that. So that's what's going on with the eyes right now, just in case you were curious what's going on with that. Anyway, I'm gonna go off camera and use the Charlotte Tilbury like I talked about, and then we'll come on camera and use the Tarte. So I'll be right back, girl. Okay, y'all, so this is the eye I came up with Charlotte Tilbury Smoky Eyes Are Forever. Here are the colors I chose. Ignore these two right here. I actually ended up not using them. I had swatched them out to use them, but once I started putting the eye on, I ended up just putting these colors all over the eye. So here's Charlotte, then was it Tarte, Charlotte, Tarte, what is it? Charlotte, Tarte, and then Charlotte, Tarte. So it's more of a warm tone, kind of berry smoky eye, which I'm shocked about because I don't normally do that often, but you know, whatever, we're there, it's here, it's too late. So I started off with this shade right here. We're gonna start off with this shade right here in the crease. Y'all know the black is in my outer V. I had to use black because I have to see how it like works on the eye. This is the shade Nocturnal that's gonna be put on the lid, and then I'm gonna use Feline myself on the inner corner. So let's get to it. This is my second time using this palette, so it's not my first rodeo with it in the formula, but it's my first time using it on camera with you all. I had tested it out because I had bought it, and I was like, I wanted to see if it could go in, if it was good enough to stay in my collection, or if I need to get rid of it, if I could do more reviews and stuff with it. So this is my first like review on camera with it, but you know, I'll say the formula actually works pretty good. It worked way better than I expected it to, because y'all know Tarte used to just be like mediocre with their shadows, but because they sent everybody on there like Tarte trips or whatever, they would like get away with mediocre quality, and then they had the whole shape, tape, foundation situation happening. People was just like, yeah, no, nothing to vibe with y'all no more, because inclusivity is like the deal right now, and y'all ain't been giving it for a while, and you know, it's just not, it just wasn't working out for them. Let me take this clean brush now, just dust. But you see how nice that blended into my skin tone? Like, I feel like you can barely see that I added anything. It blends in nicely with my skin tone. It's not too warm, it's not too cool. I feel like it's more like of a neutral-ish type shade. Even though I feel like it looks kind of like warm tone in the pan, I feel like it's still coming off pretty neutral. Now let's go to the black shade. This is my first time using black shade in this palette, so I'm interested to see how it's gonna work, because both the black shades swatched kind of crappy. So I was like, let's see if it works better on the eye. But as you can see, it's coming off quite black and pigmented on the eye. I feel like it's giving more pigmentation than the Charlotte Tilbury one, which I'm happy about, because I feel like that palette was just very softly pigmented. I don't remember the shimmers in that palette being as nice as they are though. Like the one on my lids is actually quite nice. I just don't remember that palette having this nice as shimmers, but you know, I'm not gonna complain. I'm gonna be glad that they are nice, because that palette is $75. This one was only $54 and gives you way more shades and a wider color story in my personal opinion. And the mattes in here are actually performing and blending pretty well, which I'm happy about, because again, this is my first time using the black. As you can see, it blended out nicely. It's giving dramatic smoke I wanted. I'm just trying to build it up a little bit more. That's why I over blended it, to blend it out, just to see if it would build on itself nicely. And I'd say it's doing a pretty good job. It's definitely blacker than the Charlotte Tilbury one, and she charging $75, but it's not getting the depth that the Tarte one is giving. And I did build it up off camera, and it still isn't giving what that one's giving. So just want to say that. Now let's go for the shimmer on the lid. Now I feel like the shimmer on the lid is gonna be darker than the one from the Charlotte Tilbury palette, even though they looked pretty similar. One in the pan is like when I went to go swatch the Charlotte Tilbury one. I'm sorry, the Charlotte Tilbury one. It was actually quite light, so I was shocked by that, because this one we about to put on from Tarte is definitely giving more depth, at least when it's swatched did. So I'm figuring if it's swatched like that, when it goes on the eye, it's gonna do the same thing. So I'm interested to see how much deeper this is about to be. Oh yeah, I feel like it's definitely giving more depth. Now, I will say the Tarte ones are more like on the metallics, satin shimmer side, so it's not gonna give the coloring that Natasha, I'm sorry, not Charlotte, is giving. But you know, it looks similar as far as tone goes. As you can see, the Tarte side is a little bit deeper, and this one has a little bit more sparkle to it. So if you're into more of a subtle satin look, I feel like you'll like the Tarte side better. Plus, I feel like the black and the Tarte one just, unless using it, is a little bit better than the Charlotte Tilbury side, and you can get the Tarte one for less. So that's a great thing. So yeah, go ahead and dust the shadow. Now I'm going to the inner corner and finish off that tone, and then we'll talk about which one I prefer in this old school versus new school, because that's really what he's about to see, which shadow I prefer. So as you can see, the shimmer in the inner corner is darker as well. So actually, it's just a tad bit darker. I feel like both the shades I chose are just a tad bit darker in the Tarte one than they are in the Charlotte Tilbury one. So back on up now that I'm done and talk about my thoughts and which palette I prefer. So when it comes to the palettes, I honestly, believe it or not, I prefer the new school version better. I feel like the Tarte one just gives more variety of shades for some of my skin tone. My problem with the Charlotte Tilbury palettes is because she gives you those small sections and she curates colors for you. It's like if you're not that skin tone, that color isn't gonna necessarily work for you. Whereas with this Tarte one, I feel like it has a multitude of shades that work perfect for people my skin tone. Like I have this orangey shade if I want more of a warm tone color. This one to me is more of like a neutral, deeper color for me. This one seems more like a like on the neutral side as well. I feel like this one's a little more red, neutral, and deeper than that one is, but I feel like it gives a good variety of transition shades for all skin tones, which isn't known for Tarte, so I was shocked about that as well. But I feel like this is like the taupey like shade for people like Karen's tone or Dion's tone. Then you have all these different tones for who Tarte's target demographic is as a general rule, but they got better at including everyone else, which I can appreciate with this palette, which is another reason I want to use this palette in a video on camera for you all. So I would actually say that this one wins, and the fact that this one is newer and you can get it now. I feel like you can still get the Smoky Eyes Forever from last year, because I feel like every year you can get the palette from the year before, just because, you know, she keeps coming up. She I guess makes more than she's going to sell, or she thinks she's going to sell more than she does. I don't know how it works exactly, but I always see it the palette from the year before on her site, and sometimes I see them from a couple of years ago. So it's not to say you can't get that one. It's just if you like a more soft look with more sparkle, you could probably go for the Charlotte Tilbury one, but I just prefer this one for the aforementioned reasons I just named. I feel like this is more skin tone friendly towards someone my skin tone, and since I figured the people watching me are my skin tone, you would probably like the Tarte one better. Plus, as you saw, the black is much deeper in that one and could be built up, whereas with this one I didn't feel like I could build it up that well. I went in a second time to build it up just like I did with the Tarte one on camera with you all, and it did not build up well. So I'm gonna say, believe it or not, the Tarte Maneater After Dark palette wins this old school versus new school. So the new school is better than the old school in my personal opinion. So those are my thoughts on these palettes. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Remember, you all are diamonds. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Be blessed, girl. Bye.